This is chapter 11, a chapter on interpersonal conflict and conflict management strategies. So this is part 1 of 3, the preliminaries to interpersonal conflict. Any relationship that you have is going to have conflict within it. That's just a part of the human condition. So it's important that we learn how to deal with and manage conflict. Interpersonal conflict can be defined as a disagreement between or among connected individuals who perceive their goals as incompatible. And some of the characteristics within a relationship that will cause conflict are things like interdependency. So we need each other. We are connected. We know that our goals and the goals of our counterpart are incompatible. That can cause conflict. And we are perceived as interfering with the attainment of the other's goals. So we get in the way of somebody accomplishing their goals. Now, something I want you to consider is the fact that not all conflict is bad, as we will get into in this chapter. But also, not all conflict is earth-shattering. A conflict may be as simple as one member of the relationship wants to go to the movies and the other one wants to stay home. They have competing goals, thus they have a conflict. Now, popular culture will tell you several things about conflict. One of them is that it's best to avoid conflict when you can. This is not always the case. There are some situations where we try to either avoid conflict or downplay it or resolve it quickly. But to avoid conflict altogether is not a positive strategy. Some say that conflict within a relationship is a sign of trouble. But again, this is not necessarily the case. It can be if it's constant conflict and there's a lot of aggression. But conflict by itself is not bad. Conflict also doesn't have to be damaging, not permanently, and not even in the short term if it's handled well. Conflict also doesn't always bring out the worst in people. Some people thrive on conflict. They are great conflict management folks. Their personality just handles it well. So not all conflict is bad, and it's not always going to reveal the worst about you. Conflict also doesn't always have to end with a winner and a loser, though that is sometimes the case. Whenever it comes to conflict, we will enter into conflict over just about anything. And so we're going to look at a few issues that might bring about conflict within a relationship. So there are content conflicts, and there are relationship conflicts. And that just has to do with a content conflict is about something else, basically. Whenever you disagree about things, about people, about events, that's going to be a content conflict. And a relationship conflict are concerned with the relationships between individuals. So it has to do with more internal things, feelings, and the like. There are couple conflicts, things that happen specifically between a romantic couple. Whereas relationship conflicts may be any relationship, not just romantic relationships. There are workplace conflicts, of course. These stemming from things like personality differences, ineffective leadership, lack of openness, and a variety of other things. Then there's a kind of an odd concept, the social allergen conflict. And this is when somebody just has personality quirks that drive you crazy. And every time you see them and they do whatever that quirky thing is, it bothers you. And then the last one here, you have online conflicts. As we've discussed On a couple of occasions now, the concept of disinhibition. This oftentimes will lead to online conflicts such as cyberbullying, trolling, or the concept of flaming, which is just repeatedly attacking someone in a non persuasive manner. But it's the equivalent of yelling at someone and accusing them of crazy things, all online. So these all can be places where conflict begin in an interpersonal situation.